In a chilling escalation of rhetoric that has sent shockwaves across Western capitals, Moscow has issued its most explicit nuclear threat since the beginning of the Ukraine war. The Russian Ministry of Defense, in a direct and menacing statement, declared that any NATO military action against the exclave of Kaliningrad would be considered an existential threat to the Russian Federation and would be met with a swift and decisive nuclear response. Compounding the gravity of the threat, the statement asserted that Russia is fully aware of active planning by NATO military staff for potential blockade or direct assault on the heavily militarized Russian territory, which is geographically separated from the Russian mainland and wedged between NATO members Poland and Lithuania. This public declaration moves beyond Russia's previously vague allusions to its nuclear arsenal and represents a direct conditional threat against the North Atlantic Alliance, dramatically raising the stakes in the already tense standoff between Russia and the West. The Russian warning was not delivered through diplomatic Black channel, but was broadcast prominently on state television and disseminated through official government news agencies, ensuring it reached a global audience. The statement was attributed to a high-level source within the Russian General Staff and was laden with stark and uncompromising language. It accused NATO of harboring aggressive designs on sovereign Russian territory and of using the war in Ukraine as a pretext to advance its military infrastructure ever closer to Russia's border. The statement specifically mentioned that any attempt to impose a blockade on Kaliningrad, cutting it off from air and sea access to the rest of Russia, would be interpreted as a direct act of war. The Russian government claimed to have credible intelligence detailing NATO contingency plans for a rapid military seizure of the exclave in the event of a wider conflict. By making this claim, Moscow is preemptively framing any future incident around Kaliningrad as a premeditated act of NATO aggression, thereby justifying in advance what it promises would be a devastating retaliation. The reaction from NATO headquarters in Brussels and from the White House was one of immediate and grave concern. While publicly dismissing the Russian claims of NATO aggression as baseless propaganda, senior Western officials are taking the nuclear threat with the utmost seriousness. In Washington, President Donald Trump was immediately briefed on the situation by his national security team, including Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth. The United States has significant intelligence asset monitoring Russian military activity, and any change in the readiness of Russia's strategic or tactical nuclear force in the Kaliningrad region would trigger the highest level of alarm. A spokesperson for the U.S. State Department, under the directions of Secretary Marco Rubio, condemned the Russian statement as dangerous and irresponsible nuclear saber rattling. The official U.S. position is that NATO is a defensive alliance and has no intention of attacking Russian territory. However, behind the scene, there is a scramble to assess the credibility of the Russian threat and the intelligence behind Moscow's claim to be aware of NATO's plan. The strategic importance of Kaliningrad is at the heart of this dangerous confrontation. The exclave is a critical military asset for Russia. It serves as the headquarters for the Russian Baltic Fleet and is packed with advanced military hardware, including long-range air defense systems like the S-400, anti-ship missile batteries, and a significant number of ground troops. Crucially, Kaliningrad is also believed to be a forward deployment site for Russian Iskander missiles, which are dual capable, meaning they can be armed with either conventional or tactical nuclear warhead. From Kaliningrad, these missiles can reach numerous major European capitals and critical NATO military installations. For NATO planners, Kaliningrad is a dagger pointing into the heart of the alliance, a fortress that could, in a conflict, be used to deny NATO access to the Baltic Sea and to cut off the Baltic states of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia from the rest of the alliance. The exclave geographical isolation makes it both a powerful asset for Russia and a potential vulnerability, a fact that has made it a focal point of military planning on both sides for years. The timing of this explicit nuclear threat is directly linked to the deteriorating situation for Ukraine on the battlefield. With Ukrainian defenses crumbling in Pokrovsk and Kupiansk, Russia may feel emboldened and believe this is a moment of maximum leverage. The threat could be intended as a stark hands-off warning to the West, designed to deter any consideration of a more direct intervention in the Ukraine conflict. It is a clear signal to President Trump's administration and to European leaders that Russia's tolerance for Western military support for Ukraine has its limit, and that there are red lines that, if crossed, could lead to a direct and catastrophic war between Russia and NATO. By focusing the threat on Kaliningrad, Russia is choosing a scenario where it can plausibly claim it is acting defensively to protect its own sovereign territory. The danger is that any accident, miscalculation, or localized incident in the heavily militarized Baltic region could now be misinterpreted by Moscow as the opening move of the very NATO attack it claims to be expecting, potentially triggering a chain of events that could spiral uncontrollably toward a nuclear exchange. Many of my listeners, like 70%, have subscribed to my YouTube channel, and so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed. And that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to So Korean Rich, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first one's on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now. And we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.